Perfect. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Today we announced an important step forward on how Albertans prove their identity and Canadian citizenship, a change that will make life easier and more secure for all. Alberta is a province built on opportunity, trust, and the promise that every citizen can access the services and supports they need to thrive. Today we're taking another step to fulfill that promise. Starting in late 2026, Alberta will be the first province to implement the addition of Canadian citizenship markers to our driver's licenses and identification cards. This simple addition will have a profound impact on how Albertans interact with their government and their communities. Why are we doing this? Because we believe in making things better, faster, and more convenient for everyone. By including citizenship information on these cards, we're streamlining access to vital services, whether it's applying for student aid, accessing health benefits, or supporting those with disabilities. No longer will Albertans need to carry multiple documents or face unnecessary hurdles. This change means that when Albertans need to prove both their identity and their citizenship, they'll be able to do so with a single document. It's about reducing red tape, cutting down on paperwork, and making sure that government works for you, not the other way around. Programs like Assured Income for the Severely Handicapped, Alberta Student Aid, and the Persons with Developmental Disabilities program all require proof of citizenship. With this new marker, accessing these supports will be simpler and more secure. Adding a Canadian citizenship marker is also about protecting our democracy. Election security is a vital concern in Canada. By adding citizenship information to Alberta's driver's licenses and ID cards, we're taking a proactive step toward ensuring that only eligible citizens cast ballots in our elections. This helps safeguard the integrity of our electoral process and strengthens trust in our democracy. I also want to be clear that non-citizens, such as permanent residents, that still qualify for Alberta's driver's licenses will not have any marker displayed. Lastly, as we announced several weeks ago, we will also be integrating Alberta healthcare numbers onto driver's licenses, also in late 2026. This will also provide additional security around healthcare numbers, as we have learned through our refocusing of the healthcare system that there are more than 500,000 healthcare numbers registered than there are people living in Alberta. 530,438 to be exact, based on second quarter 2025 population estimates. I do want to thank Minister Dale Nally and his department, Service Alberta and Red Tape Reduction, for their hard work laying the groundwork for this change. I now invite him to the podium to introduce our guest, as well as to speak in more detail about these changes.
Thank you, Premier. And I'd also like to thank Ricky McBride for coming out today. She is the CEO of Alberta Registry Agents, and not for nothing, but she's also my constituent, so we really should have carpooled here. So we'll plan that for next time. Now, as you've noticed, we want Alberta's driver's licenses and identification cards to be a safe and convenient means for Albertans to access provincial programs and services. The citizenship marker will be added during regular renewals or new applications starting in fall 2026. When the changes come into effect, Canadian citizens renewing their Alberta driver's license or getting a new one will have the citizenship marker included in their cards if the legal entitlement documentation produced verifies their Canadian citizenship. We're always looking for ways to make life simpler for Albertans, and this is another step in that direction. Right now, people often have to dig up extra paperwork just to prove who they are and that they are Canadian. By adding citizenship information directly onto Alberta's driver's licenses and ID cards, we can cut through that red tape. Whether you're applying for student aid, signing up for health benefits, or accessing supports for people with disabilities, you'll be able to do it all with one secure piece of identification. It's about removing barriers, speeding things up, and delivering the kind of modern, common-sense service Albertans expect from their government. The timing for all of this is perfect for us because we're going to add this marker and healthcare number information at the same time we do a complete redesign of the driver's licenses and ID cards. There's going to be more to come on that. But these changes will prove the security, convenience, and functionality of Alberta driver's licenses. Furthermore, we're committed to ensuring this change benefits everyone without creating financial barriers. Importantly, this update comes at no additional cost to Albertans. The government will cover all expenses for system upgrades, so you won't pay extra to have your citizenship added to your card. We're also committed to protecting your privacy. The citizenship marker will follow international standards and will be displayed as a simple CAN code on your card, clear, concise, and respectful of your personal information. This is a practical, forward-looking change that reflects our commitment to better, faster, and more secure services for Albertans. Overall, this is good news for Albertans, and I look forward to working with my team and the department officials to implement this. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister and Premier. We'll now enter the media Q&A portion of the announcement. For media here in the room and on the line, we'll be taking one question, one follow-up. Reminder to please state your name and outlet before asking your question. And if we have questions in the room, we'll start off at the mic. And I see one making their way there. So yeah, go ahead first at the mic.
I apologize. I'm going to be a little bit off topic. Sarah Offen with Global News. A question for the Premier. Just regarding harm reduction supplies like needles and bubble pipes, we're hearing that they're no longer going to be supplied to outreach agencies that work with Calgarians suffering from addictions. Can you speak to whether harm reduction tools like this are still available then at AHS facilities and where things are with the province's plan to shut down the safe consumption site here in Calgary? Are those negotiations still continuing with city officials?
Well, I'll tell you that we are moving towards shutting down safe consumption sites, especially when we have municipalities that have expressed a clear interest in doing so. We're in the process of doing that in Red Deer on the basis of council asking us to. We also, though, are making sure that we have other supports available. So we already have therapeutic living units within the corrections facility in Red Deer. We already have a recovery community that's been in operation for, I think, close to 2 years as a way of providing long-term support. And we're also building, a brand new regional hospital there as well. So we believe that we have to transition to provide support. I believe that the plan involves having mobile paramedic teams and mobile nursing teams in order to be able to provide things like naloxone in the event of overdose. So I think it's a matter of providing services a different way. For the specifics on the rumor that you're hearing, I would just invite you to ask Rick Wilson, who is our Minister of Mental Health and Addictions, and he can maybe clarify what the policy will be.
I also understand, again, I apologize if I'm catching you flat-footed, but that the federal government has, at least until last March, provided the funding for those supplies, for those kind of harm reduction tools. I'm just wondering if this kind of thing could be contingent on whether that's included in an upcoming budget.
Well, I can tell you our approach in Alberta is to get people into recovery so that they don't need those types of services or those kinds of devices. And my view is that we should all share that same goal. I know that the harm reduction advocacy groups, they talk about doing harm reduction until such person is ready for treatment. And so we agree, let's get them into treatment faster. And so that's what we've been doing. We have 11 recovery communities that we're opening up. 4 of them are already in operation. We've got 4 therapeutic living units in the corrections facilities, and it's demonstrating success. So we're going to keep on doing that. But I think we should all want to get our loved ones off of drugs altogether so that they can get back on with repairing their lives.
Thank you, Premier.
Thanks, Sarah. We'll go to our next at the mic.
Hi, I'm Devika. I'm with the Calgary Herald. You had mentioned that we have about 500,000 more health card numbers than we do have people living in Alberta. So who do those numbers belong to, and what's going to happen to those numbers once the health card numbers get added to the driver's license?
Let me just sort of reiterate the number. It's 530,438 based on the population estimates from 2025. And I guess we'll find out as we go along. I mean, that's one of the things that is a bit of a mystery to us is we don't think that there has been very good record keeping by Alberta Health Services in this regard. It's part of the reason why we're taking more of these roles back into government so that we can get a better line of sight on these things. And one of the integrated approaches that my ministers have had has been to try to get to the bottom of this issue. So is it people who have passed away and their numbers haven't been canceled? Is it people who have moved to another jurisdiction and didn't register with their new jurisdiction? Is it people who have left the country but maintain their Alberta health card so they can come back for treatment? We don't know. Could be any of those things. And so we'll have a much better idea now that we're integrating the two, because it'll be pretty clear where the outliers are, and we'll be able to have more answers to the question. But we had to start with trying to get the data so that we could get to the bottom of it. I don't know if Minister has more to respond to on that.
No, I think you nailed it, Premier. This is the very reason why we have to do this initiative, because the way AHS was doing it previously just lacked security, it lacked controls. So we are going to, in the fall of 2026, we will now know who has Alberta healthcare cards, and there won't be 500,000 fake ones, which opens up the door for abuses. So.
Got it. Thank you. And you'd also mentioned that non-citizens won't have a marker on their cards. Would that also apply to permanent residents?
That's right. Yes.
Got it. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our next at the mic.
Hi, Premier. Bill Graveland from Canadian Press. Jason Kenney has spoken out about the possibility of a sovereignty referendum, suggesting that if such a vote was allowed, it would destroy families, tear apart communities, and that he'd be willing to take on a public role to combat it if it does happen. Comments?
Well, this is why I'm doing everything I can to prevent a vote, because Mr. Lukasik's vote is a yes-no question. It is a separatist referendum. He may be trying to characterize it differently. But if you ask people if you want to remain in Alberta, yes or no, there are implications if people answer no. So I have been very clear that I believe in Alberta sovereignty within United Canada. I am working with the federal government to try to address what I think are significant and real grievances that have Albertans feeling frustrated. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to have a joint announcement soon, and that it'll take the temperature down on this. So I think it's just worth noting that the current referendum initiative is being done under the old rules. So the rules that former Premier Kenney had put in place, 293,000 signatures that would have to be achieved within 90 days. So I know that there was sort of some implication that the change has facilitated this particular referendum question. It hasn't. It's being operated under the old rules.
Okay. And a follow, curious, Peter Guthrie is tweeting about a second cease and desist order regarding the name Progressive Conservative. Reasons for that?
Well, I'd challenge you to show me any jurisdiction that has 2 Conservative parties on the ballot, 2 Liberal parties on the ballot, or 2 New Democrat parties on the ballot. You can't just steal the name of an existing party and then try to use their reputation to further your own. I mean, I have no problem with anyone going out and creating a brand new party, but we have the Progressive Conservatives are a legacy party name for our party, and we will fight to protect it. We simply do not want to create the confusion, because we know what will happen. We've watched what happened with Pierre's riding. Pierre's riding had something like 200 people on the ballot to try to derail it. If you allow one extra Conservative party, I can well imagine we'd have 50 Conservative parties on the ballot. And then it would create confusion. And I can tell you what happened in the by-election that Pierre Poilievre just went through. You had Jean-Pierre Kingsley, who was the former chief electoral officer, saying this is outrageous and we have to make sure that we protect the choice of voters so that they know exactly who they're voting for. And we're not going to allow anyone to muddy the waters on that. So we'll be defending the name.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. And I see one more at the mic, and then we're going to go to the phones, and we'll come back here to the mic.
2 more. Kevin Grain from CTV. On the topic of today's announcement, does this mean that people who are going to renew their driver's licenses will have to show in some way proof of their citizenship? Because you say that this is going to reduce the need to show proof of citizenship for other things. It seems like if that's the case, all you're doing is front-end loading the hassle of showing your citizenship.
Well, I would push back and say you'll be showing your birth certificate one more time. And then after that, then it's going to be on your driver's license after that. And look, we have heard from Albertans loud and clear they want less identification cards in their wallet, not more. So this is just giving Albertans what they want. It's going to make their life simpler. It's going to make their life better because they're not going to have to be fumbling to find a birth certificate every time they go to apply for benefits.
How will it work? What will any Albertan?
And if I might add, I mean, one of the issues that we face in trying to determine citizenship, it may be easier for those who are Alberta born because we've got the birth certificate registry. So if we can find some ways to be able to make it easier so that people can get those seamlessly. But all of the other birth certificate registries are at the provincial level. So we've got 12 other jurisdictions. And then somebody who is a new Canadian, those records are kept at the federal level. That's why it is a bit complicated. But we think that once we put that in place, knowing that you'd have to dig up your citizenship for some of the programs that we referenced, assured income for the severely handicapped, person with developmental disabilities, student aid, those individuals trying to seek those programs have to do it anyway. So this will just make it a lot easier for them.
It seems, though, that those people are not the majority of Albertans, and so you're going to ask the majority of adult Albertans to find proof of their Canadian citizenship to renew their driver's licenses. Does that mean that if a person doesn't have that proof of citizenship, they have to then apply for a birth certificate or apply for a passport or apply for something in order to apply for a driver's license? Isn't that just one more step of red tape in getting a driver's license, which is already a hassle?
Well, I'll push back and say that's not red tape, because red tape is duplication or unnecessary. And we've learned early on, because we reached out to the feds on this issue, and the feds cannot provide us with one single source of data that tells us who's Canadian, who's not. So that tells us right away that this is necessary. It's not just going to make it simpler for Albertans applying for benefits, but it's going to be able to tell us, who our citizens are. And look, there's 67 countries around the world that already do this. Spain does it, Italy does it, Brazil does it, Japan does it. Like, this is not controversial, but it will make life simpler for Albertans when they're applying for benefits.
If I can just pop one more addendum in. I'm not sure, you said this isn't red tape, this isn't, and then you described red tape as duplication. How is it not duplication?
Because Albertans have told us that they want less IDs in their wallet, not more, and this is going to make life simpler, make life better, because they're only going to have one identification. It's going to have their driver's license, their health insurance number, and then their citizenship.
Thanks, Kevin. We'll take one more at the mic, and then we'll go over to the phones.
Rick Bell, Post Media. Question for the Premier. We don't have a teacher strike yet, but it may come. How determined is the government to maintain the position that it has, that you're offering a pay raise, I think, over 3 or 4 years, and also hiring additional teachers? But how resolute are you to remain on that position? I know there's negotiations, but in the words of former Premier Ralph Klein, I think in negotiations he once said, "I ain't going to blink." So there's a precedent for answering this question. How determined are you to maintain the position that the government has? And if you are wanting to maintain that position, why is it important for you to maintain that position and not give in to the counter position?
We want to make sure that we have a fair offer for teachers, and we believe we do. It's 3% per year over 4 years, which is 12%, in addition to some market adjustments. And so 95% of teachers would get more pay under the proposal we currently have on the table. This is a pay raise that matches what 83 other unions, including the United Nurses of Alberta, have already accepted. And we do sit well compared to other provinces that have already made salary adjustments. So if you look at 2027, consider all of the increases in this offer, as well as the salary adjustment that other provinces have agreed to. Keep in mind what's happening is when we see comparisons, they don't factor in what we're offering versus some of the jurisdictions that already have. And we use a competitive evaluation. We have to agree to these things at the bargaining table so that we're all using the same set of facts. But if you look at a Category 5 teacher at the top end of the grid, by 2027, Saskatchewan teachers would make $98,142. BC teachers would make $96,142. Manitoba teachers would make $101,775. And Alberta teachers would make $107,009. So when we're looking at any requests for pay increases higher than those numbers, we are already very much competitive, but also will be the most generous for the typical teacher in Western Canada. And we do not want to sacrifice any trade-off between higher salaries and more teachers. We have been very clear that we have a $1 billion package that we have already announced to go to school boards to enhance their choice of teachers or education assistants. Through the bargaining process, we already put another 1,000 teachers per year on the table. And so we are asking the Alberta Teachers Association leadership to be very clear about what these trade-offs are with their members, and I hope that we're able to get to a negotiated settlement. We want to make sure that we are addressing the issues that we hear from teachers. They want to be paid fairly. They will be with this offer. More so. I mean, they're getting well above what other teachers are in the Western Canada, and we have a lower tax environment, and we have no harmonized sales tax. So all of that has to be factored in with what we hear they really want us to do, which is to hire more teachers, more education assistants, so that we can reduce class sizes and address complexity.
So my supplementary, again, on this issue is how you know, I've seen lots of politicians lead through labor disputes. How determined are you to stick to that position, given what you just told us about all the facts and figures, and even given the fact that the ATA is obviously going to push it back and say that you're not being fair? How determined are you to hold the line on the position you have?
I would say that I've been pretty clear with these numbers. We've looked at them. We want to make sure that parents and frontline teachers know that this is a fair offer. We want to make sure that everybody has the same information, and so we will make sure that we know that the ATA is getting their position out through advertising in movie theaters and various other means. We will be getting this perspective out as well, and we hope that it'll win over hearts and minds of teachers and parents. We want to be fair to teachers, but we also know that the number one issue is addressing class size. We're addressing it one way in building out an $8.6 billion spend program to build new schools. That's one thing. There's just a need for more physical space. But we also need to have more teachers to be able to have smaller classes, and we need to have more education assistants to deal with classroom complexity. It can't all be about having higher and higher and higher salary settlements. Otherwise, those other things will be sacrificed. We have to have a balance.
Thanks, Rick. And we have time for a couple more questions. We're going to head over to the phones. Operator, could you put through our first caller, please?
Yes, your next question comes from the line of Jack Farrell with the Canadian Press. Please go ahead.
Hello. A question for the Premier about the ID cards. Like you're having one of your panel events tonight, I believe, in Airdrie. I'm curious, is adding citizenship to driver's licenses kind of like a first step in creating the new immigration system that you've been shopping around about? Potentially like denying some social services to non-approved immigrants. Like would doing this make that easier to do?
I can have the minister talk to you about this, but we've been talking about this since we got reelected because we've identified many problems that we're trying to solve. We're trying to solve the issue of some of our social programs requiring citizenship and how to make that easier. We're solving a problem of an unknown number of health cards that are of an unknown status because they're more than we have driver's licenses. And we're also trying to solve the problem of election integrity. So it's a three-part solution that we're looking at. And if there are other ways that we would apply it, I guess we'll have to see on a future going forward basis. But these are existing problems that we have that we're trying to address now. Did you want to comment?
I would just say that I think that was very accurate. This is pure and simple about providing citizenship on driver's licenses to make it simpler for Albertans, whether they're applying for benefits or citizenship entitlements. That's what this is about, pure and simple. And not for nothing, it's a popular initiative that Albertans have told us. They want less ID cards in their wallet. They want it to be simpler. We're just following through and giving them what they want.
And then as a follow-up question, so about the health card numbers and the over 500,000 figure, the Premier said it like they're of unknown status, but Minister, you said earlier in this press conference that they were fake cards. I'm just wondering which it is. Like, are they unknown cards? Are they unknown status? Are they fake cards? And people are accessing the health care system under fraudulent means? Like, I'm confused which one it is there.
Well, that's just it. When you lack security features and you lack integrity in the cards like we do now, you don't know. So the reality is we don't know, and that's why it's so imperative that we do this.
Thanks. And we have time for one, maybe two more questions. Operator, could you put through our next caller, please?
Next question comes from Julia Wong with CBC National. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is a question for the Premier. I'm just trying to better understand, this new marker that you want to put on driver's licenses, because I understand that Ontario is no longer offering that on their enhanced driver licenses. Other provinces are winding them down in their enhanced driver's licenses. So why do something that other provinces no longer think is necessary?
Because we have found it to be necessary. In fact, we were looking at the Manitoba card as a bit of a model for how we might do our plan as well. We found a need. Maybe the others haven't gone through the the process that we have. We've got 3 programs that we know you need to have proof of citizenship, and we also have way more healthcare cards than we have people. So we need to get to the bottom of that as well. And then also, citizenship is a requirement to vote. And so it just seems like that is an obvious way of making sure the integrity of our voting system is one people can have confidence in, by making sure that it's nice and easy to be able to prove citizenship if challenged.
And my follow-up is, what guardrails will the province put in place to ensure people don't face discrimination if someone sees on their driver's license that they are not a Canadian citizen?
Again, this is pure and simple about putting citizenship on driver's licenses to make it easier when applying for benefits or citizenship entitlements. There will be no discrimination. We will not be putting the status of a non-Canadian on there.
Thank you. And we have time for just one last question. We'll take one more from the phones. Operator, could you put through our next caller, please?
The next question comes from Eve Cote with Radio Canada. Please go ahead.
Hi, my question is regarding today's announcement. I was wondering, so we've seen recently the mobile health card has been digital as in the Alberta wallet. I was wondering if we could expect that also from the driver's license anytime soon.
We're not doing that just yet, but that's not to say something couldn't happen in the future. But at this time, we are not planning that.
Great, thanks.
And that'll conclude today's Q&A and press conference. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.